Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How Full Pharmacovigilance Outsourcing Increases Efficiency and Accuracy. My name is Chris, and I'll be your host for today. Pharmaceutical companies are under more pressure than ever to boost efficiency and reduce costs without compromising patient safety. Today, we will look at strategies to help meet those goals. Before we begin, we do have a short disclaimer. This presentation has been prepared by PharmaLex and is not meant to serve as legal advice and may contain certain marketing statements. PharmaLex and its parent, Cencora Incorporated, strongly encourage the audience to review all available information and to rely on their own experience and expertise in making decisions with regard to the information discussed today. The contents of this presentation are owned by PharmaLex, and reproduction of the slides used in the presentation is not permitted without consent of PharmaLex. So we've got that out of the way, and just a little bit on who you're speaking with today. We've touched on PharmaLex. PharmaLex is a part of Cencora, one of the largest providers of pharmaceutical services across the globe. And we're here to help with solutions wherever you are in your product's life cycle across regulatory, pharmacovigilance, quality, and clinical concerns. We're able to help ensure success in the commercialization of your pharmaceutical products. And I promise that's the end of the commercial. Everything from here on out will be focused on ways you can better affect your pharmacovigilance activities through outsourcing approaches. A few housekeeping points before we move on. We do have this scheduled for 1 hour, and that includes what should be plenty of time for questions. We do encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar. Do not wait for the end to submit your questions. If your question comes through and makes sense, we'll ask it at that time during the presentation. All lines are muted, and those questions should be submitted through the Q&A module on your screen. We'll answer the first question that almost always comes up. The webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive an email with a link to access that recording. You are also able to download the slides from the Resources tab on your screen. Just click that, and you can get a PDF version of the slides to follow along. We're joined by a very exciting presenter today, Michael Marschler, who's a Senior Director and Principal Consultant for Pharmacovigilance at PharmaLex. Michael's joining us from near Frankfurt in Germany, and if you can't tell from my voice, I'm in the United States outside of Philadelphia. Great to see you, Michael, and looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you.
And here's the agenda. We're going to take a look first at the challenge in looking at how to optimize PV to boost efficiency and accuracy, and the opportunity that full pharmacovigilance outsourcing can present to drive growth and innovation. We'll also look at what this takes, the type of framework necessary to affect outsourced PV, and then some 3 different case studies as part of best practices to look at different approaches and outcomes from taking this approach. And again, we do have time built in to make sure we address questions at the end, but ask those questions throughout. We like to ask questions and answer questions along with the relevant content. So at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Michael and enjoy this hour with us. And again, get those questions in. Here we go, Michael.
Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. Yeah, let's start with the challenges. What are the challenges? So pharmacovigilance is a legal requirement across the globe and in any country worldwide. And running a pharmacovigilance system is a must. But how to fulfill all these legal requirements? This affects the startup companies as well as companies with a long track record. And the legislation has become more and more complex. And in parallel, the pressure from the market has increased. So it is that competitors are on the market where they are increasing the competitive pressures, the rising costs of product development, and increasingly uncertain and stringent global regulatory environment. The legislation has ideas across the globe and is developing For example, the GVP modules are developing from 1 to now 16, and the organizations are seeking for new avenues to optimize the efficiencies and to optimize the cost structures and to, for sure, maximize the profitability across the product lifecycle. How to do this? Within pharmacovigilance, many companies are looking to shift from functional outsourcing, which is in the past mostly case processing, to a complete end-to-end pharmacovigilance outsourcing model, which covers all the functionalities requested by the legislation. Full pharmacovigilance outsourcing to a trusted provider empowers the companies to strengthen internal PV teams so that they can concentrate on certain topics and tasks of the pharmacovigilance and are highly experienced global to local domain experts. We could reduce the operational costs while significantly improving reporting and oversight. So that means you are shifting the cost of your personnel to time and material costs, for example, and that could as well reduce the operational internal costs. And we improve reporting and the oversight with dashboard functionality, with the reporting of KPIs. You are informed at any time of the health of the outsourced tasks. We can agilely scale up pharmacovigilance processes on demand. So you can start with a certain amount of pharmacovigilance services, and we can increase and scale up during the life cycle of the project, so that you can start with clinical and end up with the pharmacovigilance of post-marketing. That is according to product development and commercialization. We can enable the leaders to focus on business critical safety strategies. So in implementing of AI strategy, for example, and it boosts patient safety. We are taking care of patient safety, and you are informed about the status of all the pharmacovigilance services contracted to us. You can free your teams to focus on innovation and growth, and we are taking care of these teams because we have pharmacovigilance teams across all pharmacovigilance services. You can streamline the growth in new markets with global pharmacovigilance structures and processes which are harmonized locally. So we have a global pharmacovigilance system driven by a global pharmacovigilance team, and we have local pharmacovigilance colleagues taking care of the local markets specialties. So if in case of Germany, for example, then you have to take care of the local national contact person and local specialties in certain markets. We can avoid common risks and delays due to unfamiliarities with the country-specific requirements. We know the requirements of local country organizations and regulatories, so that you are, and at every time we have local pharmacovigilance intelligence looking for changes in the legislation, so that at any time we are on top of the legal requirements and you do not need to take care of. How we do this global end-to-end pharmacovigilance? It's a journey from clinical trial to post-marketing with end-to-end pharmacovigilance outsourcing based on platform technologies like the safety database. based on clinical pharmacovigilance and all the reporting requirements. The pharmacovigilance system governance is important, how to structure the project. What is the governance hierarchy of the project? What are the communication channels? What are the single point of contact? So everything is listed here in and described in the pharmacovigilance system governance. As already mentioned, local pharmacovigilance services are an important part of end-to-end outsourcing because you cannot have presence in all the countries worldwide. So it is of importance to have local pharmacovigilance experienced colleagues in these areas and the services according to the local legislation. In general, operational support belongs to global end-to-end pharmacovigilance, operational support with case processing, with aggregate safety reporting, pharmacovigilance system master file, or reporting, downloading information from the authorities, FDA dashboard, or ultravigilance L2A downloading. And benefit risk management with signal management, providing information on identified signals within out of side effects and what are the results of this? What are the results of the and does it influence the benefit risk management of the benefit risk profiles? Excuse me, of the drug, and how to change the risk management plan and to submit variations.
So we're going to go ahead and launch a poll, Michael, and get a bit of insight. We've had a little overview here of the the challenge and the opportunity and a bit of these different pieces. So we'd like to ask the audience to select on here all that apply for you. What's the biggest challenge that you've experienced or even that you anticipate when outsourcing pharmacovigilance? So take a moment here and put this in. I do want to ask a question that we've had a question come in on a person saying that their volume is not coming through well. If anyone else is experiencing that, please send in a question as well so we can understand if there's a broader issue. To that person, I'd say, if you need to exit the webinar and come back in, you should be able to come back in, and perhaps that'll fix the problem. All right, as these, we'll give this a minute here for people to answer the poll question. But I was curious already, Michael, as you're talking a bit about some of those, those elements of the outsourcing. How does a PV team keep up to date on those local regulations, and how different does that vary country to country?
It varies from country to country. For sure, some countries are copy pasting information from GVP. For example, the Arab countries have copy pasted it and just rephrased some wording within the legislation, but others are totally different. So if you think of Korea, they have different requirements. There are different requirements in US. And so it is of importance to have a local pharmacovigilance intelligence. And just thinking loud, we're covering 160 countries. So if you do this on your own, if you are globally oriented, or if you're just looking to launch your product in Europe, you need to consider 27 countries and the different legislation in these countries, although GVP covers most of them, but the countries have different and individual additional requirements.
Wow, it's so complex and all in the name of patient safety, and
Yes.
there to help ensure people are in good shape. Yeah, so it's a lot to keep an eye on. I'm glad we're looking into this. All right, so it looks like the answers have stopped coming in, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results. And I'll be curious to get your thoughts on this, Michael. It looks like most of the selections were coming in on the concern of quality. And then second there on oversight and reporting, which is a part that you had talked on, and it starts to even out a bit on managing the vendors and costs and things. Interesting that cost is low. But what do you, when you're interacting with clients or prospective clients, how are ways to ensure that the quality of the service meets their needs?
So the quality is defined in working practices in the contracts, but that is just one topic. That is the theoretical quality. We collecting KPIs on each and every contracted pharmacovigilance service. That means case processing quality, data entry quality, medical judgment quality, submission on time, delayed, too late. So a lot of KPIs which are collected and listed in the pharmacovigilance system master file. If we're talking about European Union, and regarding aggregate safety reports, you can collect as well KPIs. So each and every pharmacovigilance service has its own KPI so that the quality is controlled, and we preparing dashboards so that which are shared with our clients, so that the client has a dashboard view on the quality.
Oh, that all makes sense and ties in there a bit with the time and effort required to manage the vendors. But it sounds like the more time you're putting in at the outset, the better the service is ultimately going to be.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Michael. And we'll go ahead and proceed as we look at some of the key services as part of this.
Yes, I think this is the most important part of this webinar, because it lists all the pharmacovigilance services we are offering, and it is not that we start already with a marketing authorization application approval and or submission, already with a submission and then with approval. With local pharmacovigilance services, because you are requested to start literature research. You need to have national contact person as locally required at current mandatory in 17 EU countries. Then with the launch of the product in the market, we start with the additional local pharmacovigilance services as the local case processing and the local MedInfo services. We offer first and second level medical information support depending on the client's needs or wishes. We could only serve starting with first level medical information support and later on increase to second level as well. Local pharmacovigilance is a mandatory pharmacovigilance activity in all countries, and we have multilingual support. So we have for sure colleagues in these countries speaking local language, able to translate a case, a side effect into English language so that it can then be reported to the authorities or to partners, whatever is requested. And these teams are as well looking into the local legislation and translating it in any change in this legislation into the English language and providing it to our clients in local language as well in English language. Global pharmacovigilance covers the pharmacovigilance system as a whole. So the pharmacovigilance system master file in case of EU, for example. It covers the product surveillance and all the operations. the setup of the pharmacovigilance, the global pharmacovigilance system, and the maintenance. The maintenance covers the topics above. That means the pharmacovigilance system master file. We create and maintain the pharmacovigilance system master file, and we are storing it in our premises. We are offering the EU QPPV, and the QPPV is assisted by a QPPV office, so that the responsible QPPV and the deputy, as his backup or her backup, is assisted by the QPPV office. And the QPPV office is then taking care of the preparation of the pharmacovigilance system master file, for example, or preparation of safety data exchange agreements. So everything what is could be delegated by the QPPV to the QPPV office is taken over by them. We take care of PV quality documents. That means we can develop SOPs from scratch. And we have later on examples in the case studies where we did it for clients really from scratch. They didn't had any pharmacovigilance system in place. So it was not only taking over the role of a QPPV, it was as well preparation of the pharmacovigilance documents and in parallel pharmacovigilance agreements with distribution partners, for example. We have an audit and CAPA management based on software. So we are conducting pharmacovigilance audits on behalf of our clients at distribution partners, for example, or at vendor level where they are purchasing any services. The CAPA management is within this software, and we are scheduling all the pharmacovigilance audits, and we have own auditors conducting these audits. Going forward and further with the global safety database, this global safety database is Argus. So you can expect it is legislation compliant. It is 21 CFR and GVP compliant. We will register with the ultravigilance or the FAIRS database or other regulatory databases whenever it's requested to be registered with. Pharmacovigilance operations is writing the aggregate safety reports, as already mentioned, and this covers PSURs, DSURs, ACOs, whatever is needed, RMPs, and the case processing is a huge part as well of our PV operations team, and they are working with established end-to-end processes, excuse me, with ICSR management, case intake, quality check, medical review, and submission to the authorities, either via a gateway or via local authority portals like EVWeb, for example. Last but not least, signal and benefit risk management. We have a customized signal management. It is a process developed by Pharmalex, and it supports all health authority queries on safety issues, and it feeds into the benefit risk evaluation and identification of a signal and all the tasks which have then to follow this identification, including submission of variations and maybe changes to the risk management plan, following up on authority information letters or whatever is needed and submitted by the authorities.
So when you look at all this, Michael, in your experience, are there pharmaceutical companies that do all of this in-house, or in almost every case, is it, as you touched on earlier, at least fractionally outsourced?
Both. So companies are doing everything in-house and do nothing outsourced, or they are partly outsourcing. Typically, in the past, it was mostly case processing. But the last 5 to 6 years, you can see that full end-to-end pharmacovigilance outsourcing has become more and more in view of pharmaceutical companies. So and not only startups, as well, yeah, very long historical being on the market companies, just looking into maybe starting with one pharmacovigilance service and then step by step increasing the service portfolio. And at the end, it isn't a full pharmacovigilance end-to-end outsourcing. So it's not typically the case processing outsourcing meanwhile.
All right, understood. And how does that help then the teams to focus more on innovation? And does that help increase safety overall?
So you take all the legal burden out of the company. For sure, it remains always the accountability of a marketing authorization holder. By legal definition, you cannot transfer this to a service provider, but you can transfer all the tasks which are needed to follow and to fulfill this accountability, so that you can reduce maybe to a minimum of 1 or 2 persons within the company taking care of pharmacovigilance as the gateway between the service provider and the marketing authorization holder.
All right, great. So we're going to continue on. I know a few more questions have come in. We'll make sure we get to those. But I do want to look at this idea of the selection criteria for partners.
Yes, so it is that we need to have to look into some criteria. What is the partner offering? Is it really end-to-end pharmacovigilance? So that means, is there extensive global reach within the country presence? Is there a global consulting service available with a strong focus on the local pharmacovigilance requirements? It is a digital end-to-end service offering with a harmonized process. As mentioned, the journey from pre to post marketing, from a pharmacovigilance system and operations perspective, as just mentioned, not just end-to-end case processing, which was in previous years the understanding of outsourcing end-to-end in the past covered mostly case processing, but we are talking of full end-to-end pharmacovigilance, all services. The partner should have the capability to act as an extended pharmacovigilance department, and you will see it in the case studies that we are doing this for clients, that the pharmacovigilance department is run by Pharmalex, and we drive the value added across the entire function, which really helps the company to save money and to invest in development of a new medicine or product. It should be the experience in delivering best practice consultancy during all the phases of a client engagement. That means the typical advise, build, operate, and then transfer functionality, and the ability to align with cross-departmental teams, regulatory, quality, pharmacovigilance, so that you have across these departments one solution which is integrating these other departments.
So some questions have come in around, following back up on quality, and I think this is a good point when looking at this partner criteria. With that, understanding that PV is a heavily manual process, and even though you can have those KPIs in place, how can in that selection process you make sure you are going to get the highest quality possible? And make sure
Looking
that
into digitalization, for example, is case intake automized, or is it auto narrative, for example, is an example, or downloading cases from authorities is an example. Quality is not how many pages a PSUR has. Quality is the content of the PSUR and the feedback of the authority on the content. This is as well, an example of quality.
Great examples. Thank you, Michael. All right, we started to address a little bit of this, of the impact that this can have on the internal team. Let's learn a little bit more.
Yes, now how to implement an end-to-end pharmacovigilance outsourcing. So it is that you have access to specialists, global specialists to local pharmacovigilance specialists with a wide experience, experienced in aggregate safety reporting, experienced in signal management or risk management. It's the flexibility to harness active pharmacovigilance resources and local quality or QPPV services as a seamless extension to the marketing authorization holder team. So it is that the collaboration is very integrated. It is, for sure, it is an external department conducted by the service provider, but it is of essence to have a close collaboration and to integrate seamless, to have regular meetings, to share information. If there is any issue, to talk open-minded about an issue and how to solve this issue, so that it is an increasing trust in the collaboration and into the quality of the service provider. We can leverage the experienced local country experts within a dedicated central oversight. So we have local pharmacovigilance organization, but it is very intensive linked to the global pharmacovigilance organization. You need to rely on robust backup contingency. That means that you are receiving your services without any interruption. If it is on the safety database side, or if it is on business contingency, so that you and this is part of the quality as well. How reliable is the availability of the service provider to be online, to be available and to provide all services in the agreed upon time on the service level. And it allows the pharmacovigilance leaders of a marketing authorization holder and the staff in the department to focus on really business critical safety strategies. So to develop an additional market, to develop a new drug for a new therapy. So you have value added activities and innovation in strategic direction. Reduce the operational costs while enhancing the safety. Yes, that is an important topic to work on, reducing manual work and improving the accuracy through automation and AI-enhanced processes. Case intake is one example. Technology-enabled solutions. Signal detection is the next example. To identify patterns within maybe a huge amount of side effects. It depends on how long is the product on the market, and the more side effects you have in the database and you are able to look into, additionally to the ones downloaded from the authorities. You can significantly improve the reporting and the oversight of pharmacovigilance while reducing own costs and overhead. And for sure, changes to the turnover of key people is not that much then of importance, because the service provider is providing services and not people. And that's, I think, an important difference between running an own PV department. And I know what I'm talking of. I'm from the other side of the desk as well, within my experience. So purchasing pharmacovigilance services provides knowledge without any problems facing turnover and loss of knowledge within the company. It is the next topic is the reducing of the complexity and enhancing the data collection by using a single PV service provider. From my experience, it is always complicated on the MAH side of the desk to control more than one service provider. If you're outsourcing case processing to A and aggregate reporting to B and signal management to C, we have that seen in the market, but it is then difficult for the MAH to control these services and to get an overview and what in case of issues, because everybody is then pointing, no, it's not me, it's the other one. And so it is, you increase the possibility of having high quality services within one service provider. Important is a topic for sure, inspection readiness. So we will conduct mock inspections and see where the pharmacovigilance system is at the client side, and does it make sense to outsource it? Because then we are running it in a validated environment. We have a proven track record. And at any time, we keeping up the pharmacovigilance system inspection ready. For so many clients, we have this done in the past. And this is an important topic as well, and reduce the internal costs, the operational internal costs. And it even enhances the compliance and the patient and patient safety, which is as well an important topic of pharmacovigilance. It's not that we are just have to follow the legislation. We are as well accountable for patient safety.
It's in the end the most important part. I'm glad that we're pointing that out.
Yes. I did already touch base on scaling up pharmacovigilance processes. So starting with one pharmacovigilance process and then scaling up and contracting additional pharmacovigilance processes. That means you can maximize the efficient use of our resources through a fully digitized end-to-end pharmacovigilance outsourcing. You gain agile pharmacovigilance expertise without the management and the costs overhead of maintaining internal teams. So it could reduce dramatically internal costs. It achieves the flexibility to support product development, as mentioned several times, investing in development of a new drug or an additional therapy with an existing drug, and commercialization free from internal resource constraints. At Pharmalex projects, we show that outsourcing programs can deliver an estimate of 20% reduction in resources due to the efficiency gains by the years 2 to 3 after taking over the full end-to-end pharmacovigilance outsourcing. And the savings of resources can refocus on value-added activities, as several times mentioned, strategic growth and product innovation of the existing products, or purchasing a new product from another company and insourcing this product into the company, which as well requests pharmacovigilance activities.
Glad to see we kind of came back to some of the earlier points there, Michael. There's questions coming in around that scale up, which makes sense, but it's, how do you effectively manage that process, to make it smooth? And it's important to note here in Scene, it can take a little time to see those results.
We will start with kind of an interview and discuss what are the pain points. And based on the pain points, we develop a strategy how to overcome these pain points. How could we provide a solution to solve these pain points? And this could be that someone has an issue with case processing. Other have an issue that they would like to start with aggregate safety reporting. And with these scoping calls and interviews, we develop together with the client a strategy that could be that we take over all at once. We have these clients, or we step in with, let's say, case processing, and then based on the scoping calls and based on the interaction via the governance structure, we can then scale up the processes within a then to define period. Because it is a difference if you have just one PSUR to take over or 150. So then you need to plan accordingly, but we do this all together in communication with our clients.
So once again, it's a heavy element of the client participation in the process, and getting more out of it, the more prep and work you put in.
Yeah, so you can, with these outsourcing, you can accelerate your growth and new market entries through our global pharmacovigilance structure. And the integration of information sharing and the collaboration with others. Processes are harmonized on a local and global level. You are benefiting from continuous exchange on best practices and improvement sharing for pharmacovigilance system setup. So all Pharmalex employees are in continuous training. If there is any new legislation, all the colleagues are trained in this legislation, and they must respond to questions to prove the knowledge, for example. And we avoid common risks and delays, for example, with the lack of familiarity with the country-specific requirements. If you are currently only in the US and you are familiar with the FDA requirements, you know what they are expecting from you, but you plan to go to Europe, and it's totally different. Europe has many more legal requirements than in US. And you need to have an overview on these legal requirements. You need to have people which are able to interpret these legal requirements and to set up the pharmacovigilance processes. And we have that all already in place. So we can, with this, support the strategic decision-making for international expansion, because you need to look into the market and the market size and how to get the market and the shares of the market. But we are taking care of the pharmacovigilance requirements in the background.
Right. Great. So at this point, we're going to be moving into some of these case studies and best practices.
Yeah.
That'll be really exciting to learn more.
Thank you. So we start with a governance structure. I did already mention this. It is important to set up a governance structure so that everybody knows on both ends who is talking with whom, which are this single point of contacts. What is the communication structure? Is everybody allowed to talk to everybody? Or do we really streamline communication? Are there channels to be used? How is the project documented? Is it in integrated solution like Smartsheet, or is it in several Excel sheets and tracked there? So it's important to set up this governance structure. And this is just a 3-layer structure, just to show you that for sure we have a intensive integration with our clients. We have the marketing authorization holder project manager, which is directly communicating with our so-called workstream lead or customer success manager. We have an senior advisors board where we have strategic decisions with our clients. Then going down into the next level, we are providing the QPPV services, the pharmacovigilance teams consisting of pharmacovigilance agreements, the safety database, which is Argus, the auditing team, the safety writing team, case management team, global literature, signal management, and to name it, QPP office team. But as well, local pharmacovigilance and medical information is important. So you can rely on that we can as well take over the medical information. And we have medical information systems, phone system and database to operate this. In parallel, offering the national contact person, so for Germany, the GPO, and local pharmacovigilance MI teams. We are interfacing with local and global regulatory so that we are providing all these information, for example, for the XEVMPD database. And we interface with client in country. And if there are other third parties involved, for example, submission of a PIBE has been outsourced to a specialized PIBE submission company, then we are interfacing with this with these colleagues. A few words to the best practices with the pharmacovigilance system governance, a bit more details to the QPPV. So we have dedicated QPPVs and for sure the deputies, which are assigned to each pharmacovigilance system. We have a network of QPPVs over the European Economic Area and the United Kingdom. So I as well registered as a QPPV in EU and UK for a client, for example. So all these colleagues are fluent in the English language and in general, the other European languages of the country where they are located. We are available 24/7 hours, and we have a backup system. The availability is being tested by chance from colleagues. They are calling myself, for example, and then I have to respond within a certain time that it is clear that I got that call and can respond to it. So we have a telephone system which is then transcribing the calls so that and sending to the email address. The QPPVs are all highly qualified and experienced, so all are pharmacists or they are medical trained person. If they are not a medical trained person and just in brackets a pharmacist, we have an additional colleague assigned to this client as the medical trained person. And this supporting as well 24 hours, 7 days a week without any break across the year, 365, 66 days a year. The pharmacovigilance system master file is European Union standard where the pharmacovigilance system has to be described. We have this is owned and overseen by the QPPV. It is located in our Bad Homburg office, and it is maintained as a standard with 4 updates per year. Yeah, mentioned location is in the European Union, mostly in Bad Homburg in our office in Germany. And it is electronically ready for submission to an authority within the requested 7-day timeline. I did already mention pharmacovigilance auditing as a service offering, and we are conducting all the pharmacovigilance audits on behalf of the marketing authorization holder. We have a network of as well highly qualified pharmacovigilance auditors across the globe. There are some countries where are political restrictions, but mostly we are across the globe. And we can conduct all types of audits. So it could be that it isn't for course audit, where we have to start immediately. Routine audits planned accordingly 1 year ahead. And we are as well assisting with the preparation for health authority inspections or conducting vendor qualifications. There is a standard process available, and we can as well with our software supporting the CAPA management and responding to health authorities after a PV inspection, collecting all the information and providing the report to our clients. Pharmacovigilance agreements are an important contract which is organizing how safety information are exchanged between the marketing authorization holder and, for example, distribution partners. We can provide all types of it, if it is a safety data exchange agreement, a pharmacovigilance agreement, or pharmacovigilance service agreement, or quality technical agreement. And is for sure all is listed in the PSMF. Finally, we can provide the oversight and the maintenance of all quality documents. So we are developing SOPs, work instructions, working practices from scratch, or maintenance of all these documents. It depends on what the client wishes that we are doing. And we for sure track the life cycle of these documents so that they are reviewed within the agreed upon life cycle. KPIs are collected according to all process and project agreed upon KPIs. We are managing the deviations and the kappa support related to a pharmacovigilance system via software. And we are maintaining the pharmacovigilance training matrix for all PV-related trainings. That could be trainings on client side or in-house Pharmalex trainings, so that we are, for example, developing a standard minimum pharmacovigilance training for all employees of a marketing authorization holder.
Great. So I think it's time to move in and see a few examples of this model being put into place, especially now we've helped everyone understand kind of the level of oversight and governance necessary. And let's see how this comes into effect.
Yes, as it is in looking into the time, and as it is in the output of this webinar, we have listed end-to-end outsourcing of drug safety and pharmacovigilance of various types, archetypes of marketing authorization holder. So this is post-marketing case studies, all three post-marketing case studies. And you can see that we start with an analysis of the complexity of the project. This is an example that we started with a single service and then increased the services, and we collected from some other service providers into one because the client could recognize it is difficult to work with more than one service provider and to streamline all this information. The next case study is as well an end-to-end outsourcing where we had a US located company with a limited European presence. And so we developed the strategic pharmacovigilance development with all services. As you can see, we built an end-to-end commercialization strategy and the implementation, and offering all global and local pharmacovigilance services as listed here. And the outcome was that the high-quality pharmacovigilance system is ensured by the broad experience of the service provider. We had stringent reporting of KPIs that the client has at any time an oversight, and we are implementing software to provide many more possibilities of oversight with dashboard functionality to our clients. And it is possible to have an ad hoc consultation regarding all drug safety functional topics. And the last case study is a UK client required pharmacovigilance service provider with extensive experience in managing orphan drugs within a centralized procedure. So we are as well providing the end-to-end pharmacovigilance services, including safety database as well. The example prior to this, we are as well offering the safety database, and all these services resulted then in the implementation of a high-quality pharmacovigilance system. We could prepare and participate audits and inspections on clients' behalf, and we had as well the possibility to set up a clinical trial program with the operational activities and the pharmacovigilance needs like SAE reporting, development safety update reports, and so on. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Michael. I know we've got 1 minute left. We can put
Sorry.
the,
Yeah.
oh, it's fine. This is great. And we were able to address a lot of questions throughout. So we could put the summary slide up here. And I did want to end with a question on what do you see as the next big trend in pharmacovigilance and certainly questions around AI's use in that space.
That is a trend, and for sure, this is one topic to decide on a service provider, how integrated is automation into the processes. We are looking into this. We are implementing these technologies, but not without any testing. You can implement and then fail. So you need to have dry runs, to look into, does it fit into the structure? Does it make sense to automate a process? This is important as well. So some topics might not make sense to automate just for the sake of automation.
Think that is very sound advice, and would encourage anyone who's wants to explore that more deeply or this service that we're talking about to contact us. I did drop a link in the chat, which should come through to a forum where you'd be able to reach out to us to learn more. But as we saw here, this is a very complex process with the most important goal that we have of keeping patients safe. So we can explore those topics further. And if there's interest, contact us and let us know. We could put together another presentation that starts to explore that topic.
Yeah.
So on behalf of Cencora and PharmaLex, I'd like to thank you, Michael, for this presentation. It was very insightful and detailed. And I'd like to thank everybody who spent this hour with us. And again, if you'd like to learn more, contact us and we'll be in touch. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.